Weisselberg, a.k.a. the Weasel, the Trump chief financial officer, may be a jailed Weasel very soon. He's facing 15 felony counts in connection with an alleged tax scheme dating back to 2005. According to the indictment, the company Trump Organization paid for his rent, paid for his utilities, paid for his garage expenses on a Riverside Boulevard apartment that's on the west side of Manhattan that Weisselberg and his wife lived in. They had that apartment from 2005. They also had a home in Westchester. Although he was living predominantly, at least the indictment claims, in New York City, he failed to pay any New York City taxes. The indictment says the company maintained internal spreadsheets tracking the amounts it paid to Weisselberg, and that it accordingly reduced the amount of direct compensation to account for the expenses. In total, $1.17 million in untaxed income connected to rent and related expenses for a Mercedes. There is also an allegation in the indictment that Donald Trump paid tuition at a very fancy private school for Weisselberg's grandchild in the amount of $359,000. All of that should have been taxable to Weisselberg and was not. Prosecutors allege in the indictment that the payments for Weisselberg's grandchildren were indirect compensation and not included in his W-2 form. The indictment stated, quote, Weisselberg intentionally caused the tuition payments to be omitted from his personal tax returns, despite knowing that those payments represented taxable income. Now, Trump released a statement. He said, the political witch hunt by the radical left Democrats, with New York now taking over, the assignment continues. It is dividing our country like never before. Now, Donald Trump has not yet been charged. His own lawyer, Ron Fischetti, told the Associated Press, I can't say he's out of the woods yet. Michael Cohen, former personal attorney to Donald Trump, he's the guy who paid off Stormy Daniels. That's how this whole entire thing started, because it started from an illegal campaign contribution that Michael Cohen took to pay off Stormy Daniels. $200 and something thousand. He went to jail for it. He says Weisselberg's head, a.k.a. the Weasel, is on the chopping block. He believes, Cohen said, that Trump's 9 lives are now up because the documentary evidence that's in the hands of the prosecutors is so significant and so spot on, there's no way anyone's getting out of it.
So that's my thing. That it's wild. Like, how are all these people that are surrounded Trump, like that actually did these things for Trump, how are they all getting jail time? And the one person they did this all for, the root of it, is still walking free.
Well, I kind of disagree with Michael Cohen. I'll be honest with you.
Why?
All right. I don't think Trump's lives are up yet. If Weisselberg turns on Trump, his 9 lives are up. What did Trump do? He gave him a car under his business. You know, there's legitimate reasons to have a car in a business. You go to meetings. You have to go to different job sites. It's possible Donald Trump just wanted to give a gift to Weisselberg's children. In other words, you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he intentionally committed tax fraud. And they could say, well, I believed it was a gift. I used my car to go to business meetings. I used my apartment for business meetings. It was not used for personal. I had to get to work early. I couldn't travel back. There's all sorts of reasons why now that they can muddy the waters. And you can have, and this, I'm giving you my opinion. I have no idea.
Right.
Okay, and I'm an immigration lawyer. I'm not a criminal defense attorney, but I'm a pretty smart guy. You could look at all the documents you want. You could look at all the documents you want, unless you have somebody who's going to testify and say, Donald Trump intentionally told me to manipulate the tax return so he can reduce his tax debt, or he told me to cook the books, or whatever term you want to use. Now that is an intentional crime. After that, you're just looking at documentation, and 10 people can have 10 different reasons why it's there.
Right.
You know, just like I thought it was a gift to the grandchildren. I drive my car to business meetings. I thought I'm allowed to do that. So you have to prove that they intentionally committed tax fraud. So I don't believe that they're going to be able to do that unless Weisselberg flips or somebody else flips. Goes back to my movie, The Untouchables. Al Capone was untouchable, just like Donald Trump. 9 Lives. He said he was untouchable. Donald Trump could be the Al Capone of the 21st of this decade, but for Al Capone never became president of the United States of America. But Al Capone said he was untouchable. Donald Trump said he could walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and not go to jail. It was only until Eliot Ness in the 1930s arrested the bookkeeper. The bookkeeper was going to testify against Al Capone. This guy here in the movie with the white hat shot the bookkeeper before the trial started. And they thought that was going to be the end of it because you can't prove what's in somebody's mind on a tax return. Now, the tax returns could be wrong and he could owe millions and millions of dollars, but that's different than crime.
Right.
You need someone to testify. You need a partner to testify against you. Who is that partner? It's the Weasel. So we'll see what happens. I believe all of this is to get him to flip against Trump. Because there is what they're charging him with.
One person that
what
really
they're charging him with is what lots of business people do. Lots of business people. There's people out there watching right now who have a business. They charge their car against their business because they got to drive to different sites or whatever. They need their car for business.
Yeah.
And maybe he didn't need his car for business, but he thought he did, and you could argue one way or the other. But is that an intentional crime?
Right.
These bookkeepers, man, people will always come after the bookkeepers. The bookkeepers know all the secrets.
Right.
Yeah, the bookkeeper. It's the bookkeeper.
It's the bookkeeper.
Right. Now, back in the movie The Untouchables, I don't know if they took dramatic license or not, but Sean Connery took the bookkeeper, put a gun in his throat, and he said, "You better talk, man, you better talk." I don't think they could do that now. I wish they could.
Right.
I don't know if that was dramatic license just because to make the movie good, or that really happened. But the bookkeeper in the end did talk, and Al Capone, who was untouchable, went to jail for tax fraud.
Sheesh.
Not for bootlegging, not for buying, selling, transporting alcohol against the law because it was prohibition. Tax fraud.
Well, hopefully they get
Not for killing people, not for murdering people, not for assaulting people, not for breaking legs. He was a gangster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say you missed out on all the actual bad stuff he did. I'm like, we were making Al Capone sound good.
Yeah, exactly.
Bookkeeper.
Exactly. And in the other news, I'm surprised. I want to hear what everyone has to say about this one because we didn't talk about it yesterday.
Well, I know where you're going.
Yes, Bill Cosby, 83 years old, released from jail. Who would have? I would never in a million years have said he was going to get released from jail.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't even know the case was on. I mean, I knew he was appealing, but I didn't think he had an appeal.
Yeah.
Apparently there was an oral agreement between him, Bill Cosby, and Bill Cosby's attorneys. It was an oral agreement between Bill Cosby and Bill Cosby's attorneys and the prior district attorney that they would not bring criminal charges against him, which then allowed Bill Cosby to freely testify in a civil action by the same woman accuser who accused him of rape that ultimately put him in jail. So he then went and testified in a deposition, knowing that, at least orally, it was an oral representation, that the district attorney would not bring criminal charges against him. Well, lo and behold, the district attorney changes, and now is a new district attorney, and the new district attorney gets hold of the transcripts from a civil trial in a deposition where Bill Cosby testified. And had he believed that he would perhaps have criminal charges brought against him, you would take what's called the fifth. I will not testify against myself. That district attorney took the transcripts that Bill Cosby testified, that was a secret transcript, unsealed them, and used that as part of the prosecution against Bill Cosby for rape. You know, Bill Cosby admitted in these depositions that he gave women, multiple women, Quaaludes and other drugs to drug them and then ultimately have sex with them. He says they were willing.
What does that sound like?
He said that sounds like rape. He says they were willing participants. They didn't know they were getting drugged, but he admitted it. I'm just telling you what Bill Cosby's saying.
He said
I know, you're
they
just a
didn't know that they
messenger.
were
Well,
getting
yeah.
drugged.
Well, I mean, the women are saying they didn't know they were getting drugged. They didn't agree to be drugged.
I know what they
Right,
said.
right.
But did he say that he didn't that they didn't know that they were getting drugged?
I didn't read the transcript, but
Oh, okay.
my
But
bel-
that's a big- but
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a big-
My belief is that the women did not know they were getting drugged. These are the facts of the case. That he slipped them Quaaludes unknowingly, and then took advantage of them when they were under less than 100%, reality. And that's rape. They call it,
I mean, that's what it sounds like to me.
rape drugs and all sorts of things. So, but he testified to that, and then the prosecutor used it. And I guess there was no factual fight over whether it's true or not that the prosecutor said that he was not going to prosecute him. I think the facts were there. The former prosecutor said, "I'm not going to prosecute you." And that got overturned by the Pennsylvania courts. They said what happened to Bill Cosby, whether he's guilty or not guilty, is unfair, because then he would have had a right not to have testified in that civil deposition against himself. So it's a very complicated, very complicated situation. I feel bad. I feel bad for the victims.
He's free. As
He's
for
free.
now, he's free.
Well, he's free. Period.
Period.
Not as of now. He's free. 60 women. Now, they didn't have 60 women come testify, I don't believe, but 60 women, 60 different women. 60! All basically saying the same thing. This guy gave some drugged me up. I didn't know what was going on. I got raped. 60 different women.
Ooh. So crazy. Like you're in your late, you're in your 80s already. You're basically like a legend, right? All of this goes down. I don't know. It's just so complicated. I cannot.
Yeah. The court in their decision said that the subsequent arrest of Cosby and the prosecution and ultimate conviction was an affront to fundamental fairness, particularly when it results in a criminal prosecution that was foregone for more than a decade. It said justice and fair play and decency require that the district attorney's office stand by the decision of the previous DA. Cosby spokesman Andrew Wyatt said Mr. Cosby's conviction being overturned is for the world, and all Americans were being treated unfairly by the judicial system and some very bad officers. Cosby later tweeted an old photo of himself. He says, "I've never changed my stance nor my story. I've always maintained my innocence. Thank you to all my fans." And the district attorney, in his statement, said Cosby went free on a procedural issue that was irrelevant to the facts of the crime. He commended the victims for coming forward and added, "My hope is that this decision will not dampen the reporting of sexual assaults by victims." So it's all over. Actor Amber Tamblyn, a founder of Time Up, an advocacy group for sex crime victims, said on Twitter, "I'm furious to hear the news. I personally know a woman who this man drugged and raped while unconscious. Shame on the court and shame on this decision." Felicia Rashad, that was the Cosby wife on the Cosby Show, Claire Huxtable, said, "Finally, a terrible wrong is being righted." You know, what this comes down to is, and it's an age-old discussion in the United States in law, and what's more important? Is it more important that we get the facts right and a guilty person go to jail? Or is it more important that somebody's rights are protected even if they're guilty?
That's deep.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, the Pennsylvania state court said what's more important than whether or not he is guilty or not is that a person's rights have been fundamentally altered, and we should be protecting rights more than anything else. That's what the Pennsylvania court says. Now, I'll say this. He's lucky, Cosby.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know why? Because he's a rich man. And he was able to hire, very good lawyers who made very good arguments to overturn his conviction. Sadly, not everybody has the money of Bill Cosby, and there's lots of people in jail who have no money.
Lots of innocent people.
Whose rights were also trampled on, but didn't get their day in court, or certainly didn't get the representation that Cosby got. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot going on even with that.
Right.
You know, the ability of people who, and it has nothing to do with skin color. It has to do with the money in your pocket.
Yep.
Okay, he had money in his pocket to go hire the people he needed to hire to make the best arguments, and the people without the money in the pocket don't. So I mean, it has to do with the fairness of the socioeconomic system as it pertains to the justice system. It pertains to the rights of victims. You know, we look at the rights of the accused over the rights of victims in this particular thing. We have 60 women who are raped who now say they have no justice.
But money talks. I was waiting for that part. I was waiting for us to get into how, he was
money
able to
absolutely
hire a team
talks
to bail him out.
That's right. Money absolutely talks. Okay, I mean, you could look at a lot of high profile criminal cases. There was a Kennedy years ago. One of the children accused of rape. He got off. Good lawyers. There was a very famous one. I forgot which one. It was down in Florida. You remember, Julie? Maybe not. Back 20, 30 years ago. William Kennedy. Yeah. Meanwhile, Donald Trump, he went to the border. He's going to run for president. Guarantee you.
That's wild.
You want to know why he's going to run for president?
Why?
For two reasons. One, because he wants to give us more things to talk about, because he likes being in the news, and he likes the publicity, and he can't handle it. But the only way he defends, especially if the Weasel flips, is to say, witch hunt, political witch hunt. I'm running for president. The Democrats are trying to take me down. This is all political. This has nothing to do with whether I committed a crime or not.
That's crazy.
He traveled to the U.S.-Mexican border, and what did he talk about? Immigration, that he stopped all the immigrants from coming into America, and then he talked about himself for the rest of.
Like, why?
So immigration. So he went to the border. He talked about two things: immigration, immigrants suck. I stopped them. Biden's letting them in, and talked about himself. But I wouldn't be so. I believe that he's going to run for president. And by the way, even reliably pro-Trump Fox News cut off Trump's remarks after just 1 minute because he began ranting about how he got the 2020 election stolen from him.
Yeah, because it's good. That's why I'm asking. Like, why are they even giving him the time of day?
Yeah.
Like.
Meanwhile, our friends at the Johns Hopkins University, the newest numbers, 605,000 deaths in the United States. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, this is from COVID, director of the CDC, said in a briefing today that the weekly average of new cases is ticked up by 10% because of the new Delta, strand. It's more contagious. It's the second most prevalent variant circulating in the United States, and the Delta strand is now expected in the coming weeks to be the most virulent. The U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vic Murthy, told CNBC that while they're still waiting on direct study results, people who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, just like Uncle Brad, likely are protected against the Delta variant, thank God, because the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has proven to be quite effective. I think Julie put that in there just to make me feel a little better. A 10-week drop in COVID-19 cases in Europe has ended. The head of the World Health Organization said Europe is looking at another wave. And according to a recent survey from the Kaiser Family Foundation, 77% of vaccinated adults said everyone in their household is vaccinated, while 75% of unvaccinated adults said no one they live with is vaccinated. So we're going to have two worlds, a world of the vaccinated and a world of the unvaccinated. Tuesday, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease expert, said that he was particularly concerned about outbreaks in areas with low vaccination rates. He said, it's like it's going to be two Americas. What's going on in Australia? People sunbathing nude, and what's wacky about that, Vanessa?
Yeah, let's see.
Well, apparently two men, they like to bathe naked in Australia. They've been fined $760 for violating Sydney's latest rounds of the pandemic lockdown. Not only did they leave their home, not only were they not social distancing, but they did it with no clothes on. They got a fine of $760. Officers in a police helicopter spotted the pair sunbathing naked. That's right, in Sydney, Australia, they got helicopters going around to make sure people are still locked down. Can you imagine?
Wow.
They found They found the pair sunbathing naked on a beach in the Royal National Park south of Sydney. Police Commissioner Mick Fuller said, "Unbelievably, I can't do an Australian accent.
That's definitely not an
That's
Australian.
all right, I'm not even going to try. Unbelievably, we saw two men sunbaking. That's what they say in Australia, sunbaking. Naked on a beach on the south coast. They were startled by a deer. They ran into the national forest, the national park. They got lost. Not only did they require assistance from the state emergency service and police to rescue them completely naked. After that, we gave them a ticket for breaking the pandemic rules, stay-at-home orders.
That's an expensive sunbaking
is.
$760 each?
Well, a man in Taiwan was fined $3,500 for leaving his quarantine facility for a grand total of 8 seconds.
Oh, my gosh.
While a man in Singapore was sentenced to 2 weeks in prison for sneaking out of a quarantine hotel.
Maybe we should have been that aggressive with people over here, and they would have worn their masks when they needed to.
No, I don't think so. I don't want to live in that type of society. Meanwhile, the J Hotel in Shanghai has now been claimed the largest, tallest hotel in the world.
No, thank you.
Yes, 165 rooms, 34 suites. It rises 632 meters, 2,000 feet from the ground. It has 4 types of suites, a small 300. The most expensive is the 380 square meter Shanghai suite. Besides the bedroom, the suite includes a parlor, study, kitchen, a physiotherapy area, and a room for just getting dressed because you just can't get dressed in your bedroom. You need a special room for that.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Oh, wow.
Yes, $10,467 a night to stay in the tallest hotel room. 100 and what is it? It's on the what floor is this on? This is on. I don't know what floor it's on, but it's the tallest ever. It's on the 120th floor.
So that's the most
120th floor.
expensive, but that's not all of them. That's not all the rooms.
No, but that is the most expensive one.
Okay, let's talk about the least one.
$557 a night.
Okay, that's
Still expensive. You're still choking on that one, but it's still at least.
At least
it's like in reality, right?
Yeah, but you're probably on like the 0th floor.
You're not on the 0th. You're still pretty. You're on the 100th floor instead of the 120th. Big deal. You're still pretty high up.
Leave it to Shanghai. Man.
Shanghai.
Too many rich people in this world. Sheesh.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just always trying to top everyone. Always trying to top everyone, but particularly like Dubai. They're like, oh, the tallest building isn't. No, not. Now it's in Shanghai.
Well, you know what? Vanessa? Dubai is trying to top Shanghai.
I'm sure.
Because they are right now going to build a taller one. Dubai says, screw you, Shanghai. We're doing bigger.
It'll touch Mars.
That's right. It's called the Javora Hotel. It hasn't opened yet.
Oh, my God.
So this Shanghai hotel is only going to be the tallest for a very short period of time. The Gavora Hotel being built in Dubai will eventually be the tallest. I'm sorry, the Seal Tower in the Gavora Hotel. Leave it to some guy in the UK. You believe this is a Guinness Book of World Records, Vanessa?
What?
The guy put together 5 M&Ms on top of each other.
Oh.
Wait, we got to take the schmoozing thing off, though, Julian, so we can see
This
it.
is like...
The guy put five M&Ms on top of each other and claims Guinness Book of World Records.
You know, what happened to back in the day, like when the Guinness World, like when it was
That
a show? Do you guys remember when it was like a show and you would really go around the world and see like
Right.
really extraordinary?
So this actually is
outbreaking-
one?
Yes. It's Will Cutbill. He lived in England town of Solihull. He took the title for the tallest stack of M&Ms, the Guinness World Record earlier this month, 5. That's not even a record.
So
That's not even a record. Which one do you want?
I
You
want the orange one.
the orange one? Here you go.
We're gonna do this.
Yo-Yo is going to beat on live, Bradshaw Live right now, the Guinness Book of World Records. Let's see if he can do it.
6, Yo-Yo.
These aren't the same kind.
What is it?
These you definitely can't do it with those.
What do I
These
have?
are two. They're two rounds.
Well, you have to put 5 together. Oh, I have more flat
Don't
ones.
make excuses.
Let's
Don't
see.
make excuses.
1.
They're two round, y'all.
1. Let's see if it's possible. Let's see.
Or maybe he has
I was
something.
gonna throw M&Ms at you and make it even more difficult.
You could throw them in my mouth. Pause.
Yeah. Oh, look at that! Look at that! One more. You ready? One more. Let's go, Guinness! Let's go, Guinness! Now, can you imagine we win the Guinness Book of World Records for most M&Ms thrown in a mouth in 1 minute
On TV.
on live TV?
We might have something here.
Huh? You can't make that stuff up on live, Bradshaw Live.
I'm so happy I
That's
caught
the most.
them, though.
That's the most ridiculous. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. 5 M&Ms together. That's a Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh, get these away from me.
Speed
Yeah.
round should be in the Guinness Book of World Records. How is speed round not in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Yeah. I'm giving an award to the dumbest drug dealer
Oh God.
in the world, Vanessa. The dumbest drug dealer in the world goes to a
that
gentleman
guy?
in Liverpool, United Kingdom, by the name of Carl Stewart. He's been dealing drugs for a very long time, Mr. Stewart. They didn't know who he was. The police were baffled, but they had his fingerprint.
Oh gosh.
So he went on social media one day, man loves cheese, and he posted a picture of his hand with a piece of cheese.
Oh wow.
The police found it. That same picture. I guess they did whatever they needed to do to pull the fingerprint from that picture.
Wow.
They realized the man who made this photo with this piece of cheese was the wanted drug dealer,
Wow.
Carl Stewart. He was arrested after he posted the photo on an encrypted messaging service, EnroChat, via his handle Toffee Force. He is just a lover of cheese. Unbeknownst to him, the service had been cracked by police in Europe, and from that, his palm and fingerprints were analyzed, and police got their man. Which goes back to one of my original braducations. Too much information on social media. People always go, is my social media, they're going to check? Yes, they're going to check your social media. Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.